We're recording.
Good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 2023 Emergency Preparedness Seminar. For those of you that may not be aware of this, we have been putting this seminar on annually on this date, or on this, I should say, this day in March, every year for the last 10 or 15 years. So the whole purpose behind it is to bring our citizens and residents up to date on the latest preparedness methods, what's happening in town, that they should be aware of so that they be properly prepared, and know what to do for not just for themselves, but for their families. So it's extremely important. And now, I'm very happy that this information will be on the website, the Borough website, and it will also be on Channel 77. So if people can't be here this evening, and I know there's a lot going on, feel free to tune in and check it out on either the website or on the TV. So, my name is Albert Evangelista. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator. I've been for about the last 30 years. So I really have a passion for emergency management. I love doing what I'm doing. But the thing I love the best is that we have a very active community that joins in and supports all of the issues that happen in emergency management. And that's what makes us strong. We have a strong CERT team. We have strong emergency services, as in our police, fire, and EMS. We have a lot of consultants. We have a lot of people with a lot of history, been through a lot of flooding and other disasters. So they bring that all to the table, and that's what makes us as prepared as we can be. And we will continue to strive in that direction. We do have two deputy coordinators. Councilman Begg is a deputy, has been a long-standing deputy for many, many years. But we've also appointed over the last 2 or 3 years, Detective Sergeant Dan Cottrell, who's a deputy for emergency management as well. And he's in attendance here this evening, and I thank him for being here. Along with Captain Shushan from the police department, we have Council President Polidori, Mayor Sarah, just behind my back, a longtime environmental coordinator, Councilwoman Maria Kent, and a longtime environmental coordinator Ed Merrill is here this evening as well. And he's a wealth of information.
Yeah, Councilman
that we
Bennett.
depend on. And Councilman Ed Bennett, I'm sorry, Councilman, she'll on you
I was gonna say.
before the meeting, but that's okay. All right, thank you. All right, moving right along, I want to go over the 4 tenets of emergency management because we keep putting that forward. We keep reminding people what it's all about. A lot of people don't know what emergency management is all about. What it's all about is getting people to work together, managing our resources so that when there is an event, we all come together and work as a team. It's all about teamwork. Absolutely. We'll never score a touchdown if we don't have teamwork. And the same thing applies to emergency management. So mitigation is the first property of emergency management, and we do it well in this town, especially over the last 5 to 10 years. Okay, I will mention things like the Flood Advisory Board, who puts a tremendous amount of work in the area, especially in the area of mitigation. Our Shade Tree Committee, who takes down trees that are about to fall into the rivers and create a problem in our rivers, to see that they're removed and removed in a timely manner. River cleanups, constantly doing that. Councilman Kent runs that. It's this Sunday, correct?
May 7th.
May 7th, I'm sorry. We have our annual cleanup day in the rivers and around the rivers, so if you're interested, please come out that day, check the website out, and help us to remove debris from the areas of the rivers. We don't get a lot of tires anymore. We used to years ago, but I think through our recycling efforts and in the public education that's out there, we don't see a lot of tires, although we do get some. We get some old boats, some old canoes that are either damaged and people leave them there, they don't take them out of the rivers. And those are the types of things that clog our rivers when we have a high water event. We want to enforce our ordinances and state statutes for enforcement. For example, we have an ordinance that prevents dumping leaves or other debris into the rivers. We don't want people to undo what we have done and continue to do so well.
Which we've gone after a couple residents for actually doing that.
And that's good to know, because they should pay the price if they're not going to cooperate with, what we have in town as far as ordinances and rules. And then personal mitigation is just preparing your home and yard for storms and events. For example, we're coming into the rainy season. We know about April showers, spring May flowers. And it's very important to take care of your own home first. Make sure that everything is secure, your gutters are clean, water can run away from your home so it doesn't run into your basement. Little things like that that you should know and take care of before they announce that a storm is on the way. You don't want to wait until it's coming up the coast to start scrambling around and doing all these little things. Very important you take that action, as it says, before a storm or other disastrous event. We have a plethora of information that comes our way, which I'll get to a little bit in a couple slides. So we have plenty of warning that things are on the way and that we got to start preparing. So please keep your ear to that radio and TV and know what's happening. Preparedness is the second tenet of emergency management, and that alludes to all actions taken in order to be in a state of readiness at all times. Now, our emergency services always in a state of readiness. Police come on duty, they check the cars, each and every car at the beginning of every shift. The fire department checks their apparatus once a week, all right, as a general rule, completely, from top to bottom. A lot of people don't do that in their own homes. Okay, they tend to put things aside, and then when things are happening, the generator won't start, the gasoline is stale, or the gas can is empty, and they haven't prepared and taken those necessary actions to be ready for that event. So preparedness takes place from top to bottom and at all levels. So please be prepared, not only for yourself, but for your family. Because you may know what you're doing when things are getting bad, but your family may not. So please educate your family so that if you're not home, they know what actions need to be taken. Make sure that they're prepared through instruction, prior planning, and sit down as a group, discuss what's going to happen, if certain scenarios should pop up, where to go, who to call, or where to go when you can't call, because we do depend on our cell phones and other telecommunication devices that may not work and probably won't in a serious event. Go bags, have a go bag ready, things that you may need, prescriptions, something that you can just grab and go. We've never had a situation where we've had to evacuate this town immediately, but we know that it's out there. Okay, in every single town in New Jersey. You might get that call. We see what happened in Ohio with the train accident. If you get a call that says evacuate immediately, it doesn't immediately. So you're not going to have time to pack. You're not going to have time to pick your favorite things that you want to take. You should have something ready in a go bag, important papers, medications, whatever you need, and just grab it and go for evacuation or other situations. Response is another one. Responding to the event when and if it occurs. We respond often. First aid, fire, police, we respond every day. You don't. Okay, so you've got to be ready to respond to a call or to a television broadcast that says this is an emergency, this is what you have to do immediately. Evacuation of the town, for example. Trying to evacuate a 3 square mile area, it's not easy, but you know what? When you look at the evacuation tables in the chemical books that we deal with, a lot of them ask for evacuation of 1 to 2 miles, which would essentially be this entire town. Think about that. Where do these people go? What's the destination? We have to give them a place to go. If we evacuate them, we should at least be able to tell them where to go. We might have to tell them what route, because if the plume is on 287 in Haskell, we don't want them driving north, we want them driving south or to the east. And this is things we can put out on a reverse stealth notification system. So we're talking about personal responses to a situation, a response by emergency services to remedy or de-escalate an emergency, disaster, or situation if it can do so. Now we can talk about the Ohio railway disaster all day, but we know essentially the train had a problem, came off the rails, and caught fire. And you can discuss all day whether or not they should have allowed it to burn, which would probably have been the thing to do, because they wouldn't have the chemical contamination all over the place in the river. So this is where a team has to come together of experts and decide in a moment's notice what they're going to do, how they're going to resolve that issue. We've discussed it in long delays. We've talked about it at our local emergency planning committee meetings. We have a plan. We know what that plan is. Our train is a little bit different from their train. Their train's a high-speed train, our train is limited to 25 miles an hour as it goes through this town. Okay, it also carries chemicals, but they're at the end of the train. They have a manifest on board, so we know what they're dealing with. But still, the potential is always there. We have 287, which is a corridor for chemical transport. And that is just to the west of our town, and if something were to happen there, the wind is always blowing in the east of the direction, so we're gonna be.
And didn't we have a spill at one
We
time?
did have a spill when it first opened,
Yeah.
yes, Mayor, and the truck rolled over in Riverdale. It did leak, the liquid ran into the storm drains, brought it out, brought the liquid out in areas that it shouldn't have been, and then we started getting the vapor plume all over the place. People were spelling it all over Riverdale, and Plumpton Lakes. So these are the types of things that we do plan for, we drill for, tabletop exercises, and we do it all in an event to keep our residents safe. We need you to stay safe too by knowing the plan, listening to what we tell you. And what I mean by we is emergency management officials. And it's not just me. Okay, certainly if we have a big enough event, God forbid, we would have the county involved in here, we'd have the state involved. It would be here at a moment's notice. So we would have a consortium of experts, put them together. What do we do? Come up with a plan, and then affect that plan and make it happen. We are lucky enough to have a 62-member trained CERT team, which is a perfect example of citizens taking immediate action in their own neighborhoods to help and or save lives in an emergency. If we had to shut the gas off at everybody's home at a moment's notice, an emergency announcement, a lot of people don't know how to shut their own gas off in their own home. We have trained CERT members that could go out into their own neighborhoods and do this. They were given wrenches, okay, by the federal government in their go kits. They have the tools to do it, they have the training to do it. And this is the type of thing we need to do, is continue the training of our residents. It doesn't mean you have to be an active participant in the team, but you should at least know the drill, so if something happens, you can take care of your own house and your own family. So right now, they're having a meeting, a training meeting at the first aid building as we sit here in this particular meeting. So they continually train once a month for those people that are active members of the team, okay? And they certainly have shown what they can do, when we're in need. They've come out and all different types of things. They run our entire shelter from soup to nuts, and they do an excellent job at it, and they have an excellent reputation in the county. Recovery is the last one. And this is the one that nobody likes, but this is the one that you really gotta be careful with. Because this is where the money comes down from FEMA, the federal government. So if you don't report it correctly, if you don't report everything up front in a timely manner, a lot of times you might get boxed out and then not get the remediation that you have sought. So recovery is the actions taken after an emergency or disaster has taken place. We do what's called a windshield survey. So when people see me driving around my car after a storm, I'm not just looking at the damage to look at the damage. I'm doing what is known as a windshield survey. Because we have to report immediately to State Police Office of Emergency Management any infrastructure damage in the town. So I'm looking for damaged bridges, damaged roads, damaged culverts, damaged drainage systems, damaged whatever else could be on a governmental level, okay, or an infrastructure level. You, on the other hand, are more concerned about your own property, your own home. So you have to do a survey, if you will, as a private citizen, by taking pictures of your damage, very important. Document everything in evidence with pictures. Your home, your property, vehicles, whatever's damaged. Take pictures of that, how significant it is. Try to get estimates of what it would cost to replace and or repair. And then you want to be certainly concerned about any structural damage to your home, utility damage, that might be drainage pipes or utility pipes coming into your home, vehicle damage, etc. So you want to do all of that in a very calculated way, so that when you have to meet with FEMA, and we set up a disaster assistance center either in Lennox School or right here in the Civic Center, which we did for the last storm last year. And they had FEMA people right there with their laptops entering your information to get you that rebate from FEMA on damage. So they register you right there in person, couldn't make it easier for you, but you gotta be ready to participate as a private citizen. So you're gonna be taking your own, if you will, windshield survey on your own home, and then we, as public officials, go out and do the windshield survey on the public, what they call the public sector infrastructure. And then we report that separately, that's a whole separate category. So there's your four: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Recovery being the last, and a lot of times this takes a long, long time to cover. They're still putting things out from FEMA, from Central and South Jersey, from people that haven't applied for whatever reason, and yet they know that they need money, they're gonna need money to repair their damages, but they just haven't come forward, and that slows a lot of things down. We are a storm-ready community, and this is what it means. This designation is awarded by the National Weather Service to a community that meets or exceeds National Weather Service criteria for early warning to a community like ours, and dissemination of those warnings to the emergency services and the general public. So when we receive the warning from National Weather Service, and our local region is out of Upton, New York, for our town and our county, don't go by Mount Holly, because Mount Holly is for Central and South Jersey, okay? Our outlet is up to New York. We have visited it, I have been there to see it. That is one of the requirements to become storm ready. You have to visit their facility so they can show you everything that they do. The Doppler radar they talk about, they have the unit right there. It's quite an operation. Okay, and then we have to do a host of other things. It's like a 3-page application and check-off sheet. For example, we have in our communications center here at police headquarters and in our EOC, our Emergency Operations Center, NOAA weather radios. You've probably heard about them. A NOAA weather radio is a radio that's plugged in on your counter, wherever you want to put it, and it only goes off in an emergency. It responds to a particular signal, and it goes off and broadcasts a message. So we have one in each borough school, which we're required to do. We have one in the library. We have one here, police headquarters, the records room of the EOC, and then the schools. And then we check to make sure they're there. You know, every year when we go in and do a little assessment, we want to make sure nobody unplugged it, because in a disaster or a tornado or anything that comes up suddenly, they can broadcast a message on the weather radio. You can buy one for your home. You can go online and buy it, they'll ship it to you. It's relatively inexpensive, and plug it in the house, and you can listen to all the storm alerts that go out. And then we take that information and disseminate it through various mediums. The most important, of course, and expeditious here, is our reverse calling system, okay? Our telephone system. We have a tremendous amount of people signed up for that. I know we don't have enough people signed up for it. I know there are people in this town that do not receive our messages, and that's a shame. Because in an emergency, everybody should be on the same page. And to do that, they must receive the same message. So we make a push every March to get people to sign up. For example, we have the entire senior housing building signed up. All 100 units in that building. We can send a message just to that building as a 100 units, as a group. We have a group set up for fire. We have a group set up for first aid. We have a group set up for the CERT team, for our quad squad. So we can go in there, just do what we have to do, password, log on, and put a message out either by voice, by text, or by email, or all three. And you know, we have people out of town that have elderly parents that live in town that want to be notified when their parents are in harm's way. So they've signed up. A couple of them I know live down the shore. And they signed up so that when they get the alert for Pompton Lakes, they get in their car and they start coming up here to help mom or dad. And it's an excellent tool to have. So please take advantage of it. The Storm Ready Community gives us 15 points on our community rating system application, which give our homeowners a 25% reduction in their flood insurance.
Now, since it's going to be on Channel 77,
Yes.
tell the residents how they would sign up if they are not signed up.
For the
For the,
warning system,
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
okay.
But thank you for the reminder. Here we go. Okay.
Okay.
Emergency notification system. Would you like to do this?
No, not at all.
Okay. You can register by going to our borough website at www.pomptonlakes-nj.gov. And on the left side of the homepage, you will see an icon stating sign up for emergency notifications. Click on that, follow the directions. Once you set up your own logon and password, you can go in there at any time and change your numbers, delete your numbers, add people, whatever you want to do. It's entirely manageable on your own, once you enter it and establish it. Even when we get a couple notifications, people move out of town, they still get my message a year later. And they're like, can I get off of there? Well, you could have on your own, but then we get involved and we just take it off for them. So again, the relative out of town is in here, and the ability to modify it as necessary is great. So please sign up. It's an awesome tool to have, awesome. And we use it very little so that it remains, when you hear that message, it's it's a real deal, and it's important, extremely important. Hot topics, all right, I'm trying to change it up a little bit this year because we beat flood emergencies to death. And I think the majority of our people, our residents know that when they're doing a flood. And the thing with floods is if it's what I call a regular flood, it's not like a flash flood. Okay, we have ample warning. We know the storm's coming up the coast. We have time to let our residents know. We put it on Facebook. By the way, Facebook has a site, OEM, Compton Lakes OEM on Facebook. And I do keep that up to date and a lot of timely information on that. So please like that, like our police department's Facebook site, fire department, PLVFD, and the first aid squad, I believe has one, correct?
Yes.
I don't know what they go under, Compton Lakes
Compton Lakes First Aid Squad.
First Aid Squad. All right, so check those out, like those sites so that you can follow us and get information that's pertinent and up to date. So we have our usual events, we're pretty familiar with them, such as flooding, a wind event like we had today. Okay, we did have some good wind gusts. We have a weather station right on the roof of this building. I don't know how many residents know that, but that is also on the grid, so you can achieve that on there, and I'll put that information out on the Facebook site. But you can go to that weather station and you can see the same information that I said. Okay, emergency management seats, it gives us everything. It gives us the rainfall by month, by year, gives us the wind speed. The highest wind gusts today that I saw on there was about, believe it or not, it's only around 20 miles an hour. So when you hear people had wind gusts of 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, I can't even imagine, okay, what takes place when that happens. But we're very, very fortunate here that we didn't have that, but we did have some significant wind today. But again, through that whole episode over the weekend and today, we had very little trees down. I don't think we had any reported trees down today. Okay, we had one the other day, the tree was slated for removal, and the wind just got to it before we did. Okay, the tree was weak, didn't take much, and it took out some waters. That type of thing happens, we can't control that. Lately, we've seen a lot more severe weather events and accidents that have struck our state and our country, and our residents must be familiar with these and prepare for these events. So, we're going to talk about that now in the next couple of slides. And it's something to consider, something to think about, talk to your family about. We provide this booklet, and this has been out for a number of years now. We have updated it. This little booklet here, we pass it out at all the events in town. Pomp the Day, National Night Out, Stroll, we have them here at the Borough Hall, the clerk's office if you need one. And this is a pretty complete book of different scenarios and what to do and how to prepare for them. It covers all the disasters and emergencies that you can imagine. So if you don't have one of these little emergency operations guides, again, you can get them here at the Borough Hall, come in and see the Borough Clerk, and they will give you that, and we have some refrigerator magnets. If you'd rather have one of them or have both, help yourself. And again, just don't put them up on the refrigerator. Discuss them with your family, particularly your younger kids that don't know what to do when something's happening and you may not be home. Okay, because you can't always be there for them. Remember that. Okay, next slide is tornadoes. Now, New Jersey, when I was a kid growing up, I never heard of a tornado in New Jersey. Okay, very, very rare. And if it was considered a tornado, National Weather Service would come out and they would identify it and they would scope it out and they'd find out it was just what they call a downdraft. And we had one of them in the early 80s on Railroad Avenue. We had a significant downdraft, which took down trees from one end of the street to the other. But it wasn't a tornado. You'll know it's a tornado when you see the trees twisted, okay, from the twisting action of the wind. In this particular situation, they were just blown down and forced to the ground, but they were all in line, they were not twisted. So you can see here on the slide, tornadoes are spurned by thunderstorms. A lot of people don't know that, okay? Tornado just doesn't happen, okay? It's usually a severe thunderstorm that's coming in, okay, then it develops into the most violent storms, which is a tornado. They develop so rapidly that little, if any, advance warning is possible. Okay, so that's why those NOAA weather radios are extremely important. And now you know they have a national alert network on your cell phones. I think you may have gotten those tests where it comes from the federal government and they could actually put an alert over everybody's cell phone through all the different carriers automatically. I don't know if they would do that for a localized tornado warning, but if you watch the Weather Channel at all, I know they're very particular on reporting tornadoes and they're spot on when they do it. So if you ever want to see how that works, just check that station out. And you'll see how it appears as a rotating funnel-shaped cloud. And it could have wind speeds up to 300 miles an hour, which pretty much take everybody's house down to the ground. Okay, without a doubt. Most tornadoes that have happened around here are maybe 100 to 150 miles an hour. And they've had significant damage. And those are the categories. There's minor damage, medium damage, and then major damage, and then destroyed. Those are the categories we look for when we do that windshield survey. Damage paths can be in excess of 1 mile wide. I already said our town is only about 2 square, just shy of 3 square, including the lake. So we're fortunate we don't have tornadoes of that size out here. The Midwestern states, yes, because they're flat, they don't have mountain ranges, they don't have hills and valleys. That seems to slow these down and break them up, which is good for us. Okay, but when you have that long, flat, prairie, and you get these things going, they can be 50 miles an hour long, as it says here in the slide. So make sure you're prepared to act in a tornado and discuss proper actions with your family. Danger signs include dark, often greenish sky, large hail. Anytime you have hail, you have a propensity for a tornado. Think about that. Okay, and they report, or I should say we report that to the National Weather Service as pea-sized hail, hail the size of a dime, hail the size of a quarter. That's what they want. They don't want measurements, they want it relative to something they can identify with. So pea-sized hail, not a big deal. You start getting quarter-sized hail, we have a problem. And they've had golf-sized hail, and somewhere I was reading had baseball-sized hail in a storm like that, which does significant damage to everything. Right, so there's a lot of different things that can take place. Usually large, dark, low-lying clouds, you've seen them, and a loud roar like a freight train. And that, my daughter was in a, I shouldn't say in the tornado, but a quarter mile from the tornado about 2 years ago in Arkansas, and that's what she had. She called me up the next day, she said, "Dad, what you said," and I didn't make it up, this is the way it is, okay? What you said is exactly what I heard. I heard what sounded like a large train coming down the tracks. And she said, I looked out the window, the sky was dark, it was green, everything we're talking about right here. And it went through an elementary school, completely destroying the gymnasium, twisting the steel beams like they were candy, okay? And, devastated a pretty large portion of that town. So they're not anything to take lightly. All right, a lot of people ask about this. What do you mean shelter in place versus evacuation? Shelter in place, we may have a plume, which is a release of vapor, be it natural, hydrogen, propane gas, gasoline, smoke comes out in a plume, or other hazardous material. It may not, or it may be visible to the naked eye. You don't know. They had an incident in Paulsboro, New Jersey, which is right down just before the Delaware Memorial Bridge. They had an incident there with a release, chemical release. I won't mention the name of the company that was involved, but it was a hazy morning, okay? It was that kind of morning when they had a fog over the rivers down there. So when they looked out, they thought it was fog instead of vapor. They couldn't tell the difference. Well, they ended up responding into the fog, and guess what happened? They had a lot of injuries, including state police who responded first, because a lot of those areas in South Jersey are covered by state police. So they actually drove into the plume without even realizing. So you don't know. Okay, so if you don't know, you don't go. That's our saying in hazmat. You don't know, you don't go. So it may or may not be visible to the naked eye, so be careful of that. If you're told to shelter in place, stay at your home or your building or your business, wherever you are. Turn off the HVAC units, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Turn them off. You don't want to exchange your air with the outside. Okay, and then seal your doors and windows like they tell you in a hotel. If there's a fire and you're in your room, wet a towel, put it on the base of the door, take up that gap. Do it around the windows if there's a gap. You want to keep any air exchange from happening from outside and inside, excuse me. And then stay put until all the clear is given. And we will always come around with an all clear. If we can't do it via the phone system, we'll do it via bullhorns, megaphones, and whatever else we have at our disposal. Evacuation. If you are given an order to evacuate, please do so immediately. So if I said in this room right now, we got to evacuate now, it means that everybody gets up and just walks out that exit. No time to pack, no time to grab your specialty items, no time to make calls, to let so-and-so know that you have to leave. You just have to get up and get out, especially if it's in a neighborhood. Because now we're going to have traffic, we're going to need elderly people might need help, might be a traffic accident, now it's going to bother things up even worse. So if you're given an order to evacuate, please do so immediately. And we have, unfortunately, that interstate highway here. We have interstate highways all over the place. And a lot of stuff goes up and down that highway that could present a problem. So always be ready. And you don't have to practice it so much as in letting your kids know when you have to just jump in the car and go somewhere. Don't worry about grabbing stuff because you can come back and get it after everything's under control. Detours will be established for traffic control. I don't know how many know this, but the New Jersey Department of Transportation has a booklet about 4 inches thick. We have it right here in our Emergency Operating Center. It gives you traffic patterns for every highway when it's detoured. For example, 287, it shows the routes throughout town that should be used as detours for an emergency like that if the interstate is shut down. So they're on the ball as well. They've got their plans together. Everybody now is required to plan at all different levels, which is a good thing. Our schools plan. They continue to plan for a lot of these things because during the day, you want the kids in school. You can't evacuate them. You can't send them home. We want to keep them together. We want to keep them safe. We'll get to that in a minute. So don't waste time. Grab your go bag, get in the car, and get out of here. We'll attempt to give you a destination to report to. It might be a gymnasium at a high school. It could be a senior center in another town. We're going to try to give you a place to go to so you're not driving aimlessly. And then that temporary location will give you time to make arrangements with your family and friends for further action on your part. So that's what an evacuation is. Down the shore, you see evacuations in the summer when the storm's coming up the coast. Nobody has gas. They're all in line at the gas stations. And then everybody's trying to go out that 2-lane road that goes all the way up to Barrier Island to get out of that particular zone. Don't wait. When they tell you to evacuate, if you're down the shore, you're down south, North Carolina, South Carolina, they tell you to evacuate, get in your car, and get going, because you don't want to get stuck there. All right, thunderstorms versus flash flooding. Thunderstorms, a very severe threat, and we have them all the time, especially in the summer. About 10% of them nationwide out of 100,000. There's roughly 100,000 thunderstorms a year nationwide. About 10% of them are severe. We've seen some good severe thunderstorms around here. Lightning is the main threat, and it can strike from 10 miles away. Lightning. Okay, 10 miles away. Get inside, or stay inside during the storm. Stay away from metal equipment, fences, etc. One of the stories I always tell was a grandfather who was watching his granddaughter play soccer. And he was leaning on a 4-foot chain link fence. Lightning struck a tree in the proximity of the fence, went down the tree through the root system into the fence and electrocuted the grandfather, killing him, okay, causing severe damage to his body. So you want to stay away from all types of metal equipment. Get out or off the water, should be out there in a boat, or in your pool, never stand under tall trees on a hilltop, or be out on the beach in the summer, or open water during a thunderstorm. Now, a flash flood is just that, it's a flash. It happens in a flash. So things could be perfect, and all of a sudden here comes this wall of water, which could be caused by a dam breaching, could be caused by a tree falling across the river, blocking it up, damming it up. So you're gonna get water where you don't want it in a very, very quick fashion. That's a flash flood. A slow flood, we see it, on the hydrograph, we see this, the river rising, things we don't like to see. Okay, when we're watching the hydrographs after a huge rainfall. But 2 or 3 inches of rain in a very short period of time can cause a lot of flash flooding. And there are a lot of incidents. You've been on a parkway perhaps in the summer when they have a heavy rainstorm and all the underpasses are flooded. The parts of the highway that are travelable, but then there's also parts under bridges and low-lying areas that are flooded. And most of the time that's from a flash flood. So when they give a flash flood warning, treat it as extremely important. Okay, and if you do get caught, stay in your car. Don't try to get out of your car. Car will float 6 inches of water to a foot, 6 inches to a foot of water. 6 inches will take you off your feet. But if you get out of that car in a flash flood, when that water's up to the doors or above, okay, that's going to take you with it. That water's going to take you with it wherever it goes. It was last year or the year before in Passaic. A boy and a girl drowned. They got out of their car, they started walking, they got swept into a culvert, into a drainage culvert. And they found them down in the Passaic River down by North. So stay with the car. Get on the roof if you can, if you're able, but stay with the car. Call 911 immediately, and make sure that somebody sees you. You got to wave a towel or something like that, try to get people's attention. All right, we already said this. Call 911. Now, what happens with 911 traditionally when there's an emergency or flash flood? It's overloaded. And the system is designed to always be answered. So in other words, there's 3 switches, north, central, and south in that system. If the north station is overloaded or out of service, it will automatically go to the central. If that's overloaded, it'll go to south. So it's very possible that somebody makes a phone call from Pompton Lakes and it goes all the way down to state of New Jersey, goes all the way back here. The way the system is designed. It's designed with redundancy so that the phone is always answered, but it might be 15 minutes later because there's only so many phone calls you can take on 911. And then you got to stay on the phone with certain types of calls. You can't hang up on these people. So remember that. Okay, it's not, it's nice to say, I'll just call 911 until it's overloaded or it doesn't work. All right, so keep that in the back of your mind. Get off the road until the storm subsides. Pull into a rest stop, pull into a, snack bar, whatever, just kill some time. Get off the road during the heavy rain. Let the roads flood, let the storm drains drain, and they will drain slowly because of the volume of water. All right, we're getting to the end here. This is the last slide. We're talking about earthquakes. And you might cringe and say, well, earthquakes, we don't have any around here. But unfortunately, we are in the vicinity of the Ramapo Fault. And as such, you should have an idea what actions to take should we have some type of seismic activity. We've been very fortunate over the years that we have had none. Most of the seismic activity they've registered in our area has come from other areas of that fault. But the immediate concern about that fault was it ran right past Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant in New York State. Okay, and certainly you don't want any kind of fault occurring where you have containment vessels. However, the good news is Indian Point is now decommissioned. There's no longer producing energy, no longer has an active nuclear reactor power. As a matter of fact, New Jersey has closed all theirs down except one, which is Alloways Creek. All the rest are in Pennsylvania, fortunately for us. Okay, so we don't have much to worry about as far as radioactive issues, but the fault, when you look on Google Ramapo Fault, and you'll see that it goes right up through our area here, just to the west of Pompton Lakes. Okay, and it's been dormant for a very, very long time. And I'll show you that. Right, earthquake actions. If you're inside a building, stay there. Don't go outside, hide under a table or desk. Not a doorway, as we used to be told, unless that doorway is strongly supported. Stay away, and we know today's houses are not built like they were, right? 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they're not. Today, it's all the manufactured plywood and all that stuff. It's not really as strong as structure as there were years ago. Stay away from windows and bookcases, cabinets, etc. And it's a good idea if you have little kids to bolt them to the wall, bookcases and things like that, so they can't pull them down on them. If outside, stay there, but away from power lines, buildings, or anything else that could fall. You don't want to be in proximity to anything that can land on you, especially in your car. Tune in radio or TV for the latest emergency info. If you smell gas or have an electrical problem, call 911 or take the appropriate action on your own. That's why I'm suggesting to everyone, especially if you have kids, teach them how to shut off your water, your electric, and the gas in your house. I did it for my two kids, my son and daughter, when they were young kids. Took them down the basement, I showed them where everything was, showed them how to shut it off. Actually made them do it. Of course, I had to relay pilot lights and things like that, but I don't recommend shutting it off completely. But just know if you do, either call BSEG or know how to remedy that situation on your own. Okay, thank you. All right, number one, for listening and watching. Hopefully you will encourage others to listen and watch now. Channel 77 or our website. Thank you for preparing and caring for yourself, your family, your neighbors, and your community. Thing you have to remember about communities like Mountain Lakes is many of our volunteers are residents themselves and have their own homes in the borough. So many times our own people, our own emergency services people are impacted by a flood event or disaster. And they're going to be out of the picture as far as help. Now, we do have a very robust mutual aid system to get help from adjoining municipalities as we would go to them to help them. But again, if it's a regional disaster, everybody's not going to be available to help everybody else. That's why it's incumbent upon everybody to know what to do on their own. Consider joining our community emergency response team. If you're interested, just Google Mountain Lake CERT. They're on Facebook as well. And you can call or send an email to plcert@gmail.com and someone will get back to you. And then number four, one of my favorite sayings, I didn't make it up. It's been around a long time in emergency management, and that is fail to plan, plan to fail. And that has proven true in many, many, many circumstances. So with that, I thank you. Mayor, I thank you for this opportunity. Liz Bransness, our clerk, is running the video tonight. So thank you very much for your help in getting this word out to the public. And hopefully they take advantage of it and do what they have to do. Have a good evening.
And let me just add, we're lucky here to have someone like Al, who's been on service for us for 30 years, knows the town well, knows what's going on. You know, that's a vital piece of the cog, that someone knows how to handle situations all the time. I see half of our flood advisory board is here. You know, we have one of the most outstanding flood advisory boards around. Surrounded by three rivers, it makes a big difference. It does. And I talk to other towns all the time, and they're asking, how do they even get a flood advisory board? We're lucky enough to have one. We have a great police department, first aid, fire. They all respond. But I think the thing you just said is the most important. Let's remember they're all residents also. So if something does happen, they have to worry about their families and homes also. So it's a tough situation at that point, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of yourself, and I think that's what Al is basically trying to say here in his lecture. So thank you, Al, for putting this on again.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Take care.